All right. I think we're ready to go live. Let's I hear us talking, so we have transitioned a number of times.
Help if my microphone was on.
There you go.
All right.
We're back, and we're not on YouTube, so apologies to anyone who's on YouTube. We'll write a note after, but we've been jumping between technologies to try to figure out what the problem was with our audio, and I think we're close, but we'll move on now that you can hear us.
Yes, thank you so much for your patience. We tried to test a few things, whether it was a YouTube issue or YouTube Premiere issue, and we switched over to Facebook Live. We switched a few cables, and we tested it on Facebook Live, and lo and behold, somehow, we figured out the problem.
We had to turn worship music on to make it work. Maybe we were just too dull and it didn't want to turn on. I don't know.
But God answers prayer, so here we are. We're going to spend then the next we only have a few moments left, so we want to just give you an update. And so Pastor Dan and I had the opportunity to be on a phone call this afternoon with Dr. Heather Morrison and some of her staff, and that was very helpful in the sense that it brought some clarity. And so we want to sort of let you know some of the outcomes of that, but maybe just real quick, Pastor Dan, any sort of impressions that you had of the call? Let's just maybe chat real quick about that. And thank you so much, everyone who prayed. We could definitely feel your prayers as we wade through these difficult issues. So,
yeah, and I will say, as we just dealt with technology, we probably spent the first 15 minutes with the reality of 90-plus clergy and ministry leaders across the island trying to have conversations with the public health. I do appreciate their patience.
Yes.
And, of course, I think they're probably relatively new to all the technology as well, but they've been adapting, and I think it was an interesting array of ministry leaders. I would say almost every type of religion / faith group was represented, from Buddhist to Catholic, Anglican, United, Presbyterian, Church of Scotland, Baptist, you name it. It was interesting, as a pastor, I don't know every faith leader on the island, so I was scrolling through going, I have no idea who these people are, which is maybe a bad thing. But at the same time, we roll in different circles. We're usually always busy at the same time in different places.
Right.
We're always leading a service somewhere, so of course we can't always interact. But I will say it was interesting to hear different perspectives. Unfortunately, we couldn't all talk at the same time. I would say for the most part it was cordial, but there wasn't really the ability to ask very pointed questions or have a conversation because you have 90 people in the room. Right. It's like standing up in a big gathering. So we had to be mindful of that. But I do think that one of the takeaways was the fact that everybody has a unique circumstance that they cannot address every single faith gathering properly. And I will say as well that one of the doctors, one of the representatives of public health, did say that they actually go to church. So they're not coming from a mindset of, well, you church people, you're over here and you're not important. He actually stated at the beginning of the call that, hey, full disclosure, I go to church, so I get it. And I think that was helpful. It set the tone for the call. I think it's a blessing that we were able to actually be on the call with Heather Morrison and with the other leaders of public health and listening to us directly. I could see them taking notes. They had a few takeaways. They listened to suggestions. Not all of it was profitable, but I think a lot of it was. And that sort of led into the reality of that we learned more than we knew before the call.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you wanted to just talk about that, Pastor Jeff, just what the reality of the call meant for us as we make decisions as leaders.
Yes. Yeah, so here's what we know. Tentatively, on June 26th, that's Friday, June 26th, so a week from this Friday, Phase 4 will be implemented here on the island of the Renew PEI plan. The initial rollout of the plan went to phase 3, and then phase 4 just simply said, as the situation warrants, and there wasn't a lot of details. So we've gotten a few more details now what phase 4 will look like, specifically what it looks like for us as a church. So one of the things is that we can gather with a group of up to 50 people. So right now the restrictions are 15 people indoors, 20 people outdoors. And so that number will increase to 50. It was asked about the rationale, why it wasn't a capacity number, as some provinces have done up to 30% of an auditorium or a building's capacity. But they gave us their rationale for why they've capped it at 50 in any one defined space. But they also said that if you have a secondary space that can accommodate up to 50 people, that you can use that as well. So that's multiple gatherings, which is also on the website. And that is then capped at 100. So the reality is, on Sunday, June 28th, we should be able to meet with up to 100 people here at Grace Baptist Church, 50 in the auditorium and 50 downstairs in the gym is how we're looking at doing that. What we have done here is in the auditorium, we have put chairs sort of in 4 chairs in kind of pods, if I can put it that way, in kind of sections. And all of those chairs are 12 feet apart, which another reality was we had heard a lot of no singing. And I believe in the province of Ontario, that is a direct guidance from Ontario,
Yes.
No singing. But we were told today that although singing is more of a risk with the spread of COVID-19, as long as everyone is 12 feet apart, you can sing. And so we have arranged the chairs in the auditorium already. We were able to do that earlier this week in anticipation of this phone call. And we can seat up to 50 people here in the auditorium, all 12 feet apart, with the ability then to be able to gather and to sing. And then downstairs in the gym, we believe we can do that as well. We just were down there this afternoon measuring that off, bring some chairs down there, and be able to do that. So these were positives for us, certainly, and brought some good clarity. Because there had been, again, as Dan said, it's very difficult listening to some individuals across the island, large basilicas to very small meeting places. Some churches operate childcare in various forms of fashions, and we certainly do as well with the Wee Nights. Some are doing food programs. There's all kinds of different ministries that churches are doing, and just the reality of the vast diversity of those ministries and how to make guidelines that you can't really do one size fits all. It's not possible. And so what we have done in the back end, we have drafted a Sunday gatherings guidelines document. We will put that up on the website, hopefully tomorrow, on the same page as all the other stuff has been there to help you guys see that. Then what we're also doing is tomorrow afternoon, we're going to put a survey up on the website. And we're going to ask for your feedback. So the number of questions that we ask you to go through that survey, fill that out, and we're just looking to collect data. Who is looking to come back? Were we to reopen? Given the restrictions and given the realities, we will not be able to offer childcare, so the Kingdom Kids program will not be able to go ahead downstairs. We'll also not be able to have a nursery. That was asked directly, and I think what we got from Dr. I can't get his last name correct.
I'm not even going to try.
Sabapathy.
Sabapathy, I think.
And I get the thumbs up from Trevor out in the foyer who knows him. And Ryan Neal, who's been our contact at the MO, and the others on the call, they just kind of were like, that's really difficult. And we just realized you can't have
and they
kids that are 2 or 3 years old social distancing. So
yeah, and the guidelines, unfortunately, they're writing guidelines for everything.
Yes.
So a guideline for this may cross over into a guideline for that, and if they say one thing over here and it corresponds to something over there, then they're going to get a whole slew of questions and concerns and comments about why not me.
Right.
And unfortunately, it isn't one size fits all.
Yes.
So I do think out of all of it, we realize that this is not a trying to keep church from happening situation.
Right, yes.
There is conspiracy theories out there,
Yes.
and you've talked about that, that this is strictly a public health matter, and we happen to be the largest and the most active and vibrant gatherings, so take it as a compliment, on the island, besides maybe, major festivals and music events.
Right, yes.
Which, by the way, are still not happening either. So if we were to compare ourselves to anyone, it would be the Anna Green Gables Theater. Even then, they're not singing in the chairs. We are. So there's so many variables that again, it's not one-stop shopping.
Yeah, and that was also addressed. That's a great point. People are looking and seeing people at big box stores, Walmart and Home Depot, and there's a lot of people in there. But the reality was addressed that usually those interactions are very quick. You sort of go in, get what you need, get back out. As far as social interactions, you can typically keep distance, and you might just pass somebody in an aisle away. Whereas a church gathering is sustained. In our context, we're here for at least an hour and a half, but you come hopefully before it starts and stay to socialize after it's over. So it's more like 2 hours on a Sunday morning. And just the arrangement of the gathering, it'd be much more comparable, like as Pastor Dan just said, to a theater setting, whether movie or live theater or a sports event, that kind of stuff. It's a different type of gathering. So I'm going to put out my weekly update video hopefully tomorrow afternoon, and so look for that and hopefully walk through some things with even some more clarity. But we just wanted to announce to you that what it looks like is this coming Sunday, Father's Day, we will not be able to gather live with the 50 because the restrictions do not get lifted until the 26th. Pray for us and for our property manager, David Thorne, and others. We're in contact with the deacons and whatnot. There's a lot of things to get ready kind of in the back end. But the one thing that you can do for us is when that survey goes live, and we'll splash that all over social media, please take that survey. It's vitally important to us that we know what you're thinking. Are you planning to come back when we reopen? Are you cautious about coming back when we reopen? What are you looking for in order to be comfortable with coming back? Given your current situation, will you be able to come back? Families with small children that might not be able to be together as a family unit in a wide open auditorium, these types of things. We understand all of that. And again, those are the things we wanted to address tonight as well, is that everybody's, not only, as we found out on the call, is every church different in some way.
Yeah.
So many different situations in Grace Baptist as well. We're a huge family, and so we want to take that into consideration. So,
if I can just add on to that as well, on top of that, if you can take the survey to let us know your thoughts, but we have heard that people actually feel guilty because they're not coming to church. It's not a guilt factor if you don't feel comfortable coming into an environment such as this, where you may be exposed to 50 people. That is not the intent here, is to try to force or bully people to come into the building. If you're not comfortable, if you have compromised immune systems, if you have any concerns at all, or even if you're just concerned, by all means, don't feel you have to come in here. This is a way of making it available for those that one, want to come, and number two, have no other opportunity really to watch the live stream if you don't have internet. We have a lot of different scenarios in our church, and this simply allows us to meet a need and to meet multiple needs, but also for those that have technology or are having people in their home, if that's working, and continue to do that. We're not trying to force you to change everything, but we do feel that if we can provide an option within the guidelines, that we need to make it available to people.
Yes, because we do want to encourage you, if you are able to come out. We want to be gathered again. It will be strange. It will be difficult. There may be some that feel, well, if I come and I'm just in the gym downstairs watching on a screen, I could do that at home, and that would be better. And we understand that. We would also, put forward that the reality is, right now you can only gather with up to 15 people in your home. And to be able to even socially distanced, but to be together with 50 people, even in our gym downstairs, would be a blessing. But again, as Pastor Dan said, we just need to gather that data from you guys to figure out where you guys are at, so we can better make those decisions as elders. Based on that response, we will know, are those 2 spaces going to be full on the 28th? If they are, then we need to make provisions for that. Do we need to add an additional service, like say on a Sunday night? We also potentially are looking at, in August, doing an outdoor service. Some of you have mentioned that. And we were told in the call, and the clarity was there, that if there are pods of 50 people that are separate from the other pod of 50 people, that we could have up to 100 people outside as well. And so there is an opportunity perhaps at the end of the summer to do something along those lines. We know some churches are doing sort of like drive-in barbecues. I think you mentioned Steve Adams over in Nova Scotia. So we want to be as creative as we possibly can to find ways to celebrate together, worship together, to be the family back together again, but understand that people's situations is different, and there's a spectrum of opinions and realities on this. So once the survey goes live, and again, we'll splash that out there on social media tomorrow morning, be looking for that and respond to that if you would. We're actually going to take an additional step, and so early next week, after another reminder tomorrow and a further reminder Sunday, we're actually going to have some calls. So there may be those that don't have access to the internet, can't take the online survey. That's the best way that we know how to get that out there to everybody. So certainly what we're going to have is maybe have an individual or individuals call people that haven't responded yet, maybe can't respond because of internet restrictions, and walk through the survey with them, have that filled out. And we would love to have 100% participation, but certainly as much participation as possible so we can get that feedback from our church family here at Grace. And that helps us make better decisions then moving forward. We have a plan for inside the building as far as traffic flow. We have signs up. We have the hand sanitizing stations. We've tried to do all the things that we can do to follow the protocols, and we're excited by this. So we just wanted to make those announcements coming off of that phone call, that video call this afternoon, and thank you so much for praying. I don't know if there are any comments or prayer requests?
There's a few comments. I was going to add as well, which was another comment that was made with our other pastors gathering, that this is from the information we know right now. As we move forward past June 26th and into July and August, there could be further options presented to us as ministry leaders. We did request that they communicate directly with us as things change. Mm-hmm. They have an email list that they're going to send out. They did talk about another conversation with us. So I think if things progress the way they have been, and that there hasn't been any community transmission, the amount of time has passed, pardon me, if there isn't any COVID-19 symptoms anywhere, and we're really cautiously watching what happens with people coming onto the island from other areas, then there may be further relaxing and further numbers given, and we can go farther to be more of the community altogether. We just don't have those answers right now, so we're working with what we have. Mm-hmm. But it could get better as we move forward. We just don't have those answers. Yeah,
it's hard to know, and like Dr. Morrison was saying, it's really a moving target. They're looking at a lot of data from other countries, certainly our own country, other provinces, trying to put that all together. A big factor right now from the Public Health Office is risk mitigation. That's really what they're trying to do. And again, we were very thankful and tried to thank them. Certainly at the end of the call, we felt we had an opportunity to express where we're coming from, but thankful that to God ultimately, but also to our those in the health profession, that we've had 0 hospitalizations even, 0 deaths, only 27 cases, and all of those have recovered, no active cases on the island. And so it is overall a huge praise. But as they have said, not to necessarily then get complacent, because the reality is COVID-19 is still very active, and there is as yet no vaccine. There's not really a way to fight against the spread other than the measures that have been put into place. So so that's kind of the announcement. Again, more clarity coming tomorrow via the weekly update video. We'll have a further announcement on Sunday. But please, if you can, just sort of give us some feedback. We want to hear from you so that we can make the best decisions as your shepherds and as your elders. so that as we reopen and as we get back together again, what that looks like, how we do that we can do that the best way possible given the guidance that we currently have. But we were thankful for the clarity that we were able to get. There certainly still is some uncertainty, but a lot of that is it's hard to give an answer to something that you don't have an answer for yourself. I mean, Dr. Morrison came on the call right out of the gate and said the angst and the frustration and the uncertainty that we're all feeling, she's feeling too, to a certain degree. There just isn't a playbook for this. There's similarities to other pandemics. I know everybody goes back to the Spanish flu, but even there's differences with this. There really isn't a manual. We're kind of writing